Wow, hello there. Welcome to June 29th, 2021. Yep, this is our last Transformation Tuesday in June, and we've had such a powerful month of male speakers, men speakers. And I just am so grateful for everyone who's opened their hearts and come in and presented. So, Paradigm Shifters, we are a community, global community dedicated to shift and uplift the entire planet. And so with that, I know you guys might be getting sick of me, but we are at our number of 1,078 members and growing. And that to me says that we're expanding and growing as one, as together, and also together we rise. So it is my extreme pleasure here to welcome Benjamin Blackett. Woo, the crowd roars, Benjamin. Do you love
Woo-hoo.
that? And let me tell you a little bit about Benjamin and how we met, and then more about him. But and Benjamin and I have been on this journey together from afar many times. But this journey of transformation, we are both life mastery consultants, and Benjamin also is a motivational speaker, and I love it, at a creative healing place. Let's take a deep breath into just that title and how much courage it takes to do that. And let's see, your past, your Clark Boatyard and Marine Works in Rhode Island. Is that right?
Truth was
True.
where I
But
was
you know
where
what
I
the
was
next, go ahead.
was where I was when I got the inspiration to become a life mastery consultant.
In the boatyard. Well, you know what? The other thing that I just found out that blows me away, that you studied middle school and secondary education at the University of Rhode Island. And that's where you and I didn't know that. I studied middle school. I mean, I lived in middle school for years. So we did need a lot of forgiveness right there and still do, right? And you
Hmm.
Yeah, and you currently live in West Warwick, Rhode Island?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. And so the reason I invited Benjamin on is we were at an event. I think it was a couple weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes, it was. It was. I think it was the Coachapalooza.
That's right. And we just happened to be in the breakout section together.
Hmm.
And you were talking about forgiveness. And my light bulbs went out and said, we have to invite you on to talk more about your journey and a little bit more about you. So, you know, before we start, one of the things I've been studying is the Optimist Creed. And the seventh creed in there is to forgive the mistakes of the past and press on to greater achievements of the future. And that
Hmm.
just happened to be what we're studying this week. So, with that, it's my great pleasure to present to all the shifters out there my good friend and colleague, Benjamin Blackett. So, Benjamin, can you come on and tell us a little bit about who you are and your journey and why this is so important?
So, first of all, I am honored and privileged to be here with you, Judy. I am thrilled to be invited by you to be here. And I'm thrilled to be a part of this community because I know many of the other movers and shakers in this community, and I am thrilled to know them too, because you all inspire me and you all lift me up and keep me going. Um, and so, with forgiveness, as you were saying that actually about the shoot, I forgot the name of the book already. The Credence
The Optimist Creed, yeah.
Optimist Creed. I actually have been started working with a book a couple of years ago that's called Radical Forgiveness. Radical forgiveness to the point where you realize that there's nothing to forgive. And that space, because we realize when in that we actually have been the creators of everything that's come to our life for us for the purpose of our evolvement. And the story I was telling that Judy was dropping in on had to do with my mom, because my mom and I had a very difficult relationship when I was growing up. And as a matter of fact, I got to a point with her by the time I was 23 that I was pretty certain I didn't want anything to do with her again for the rest of my life. I was pretty convinced that that was true. It was, and in my, up until the time that she moved out with my dad, it's a miracle that we both lived through that time, because we were at odds with each other that much. So, I have been doing, I have been on a journey of doing the work of forgiveness for a long time. It was about 12 years after I was 23 when I got to the place where I got to talk to my mom about what it felt like growing up in her house. And we started healing our relationship there. We really started getting to where we could develop a relationship. And I, as a result of that, got to develop the relationship with her through the rest of her life, where I got to hear stories of what it was like for her growing up that I hadn't heard. And I found out that as difficult and challenging as it was for me, I didn't have that to go through. And I was eternally grateful that I didn't have that, because I thought I had it hard, but she had it really hard. And it doesn't matter what the hardness is the truth of it, because she passed and I was, it was almost 6 years ago. I can't even believe it. 5.5 years ago. And through the practice of forgiveness and learning to be in a relationship with her that was mutually respectful, I was able to be the man who held her hand at her bedside while she died. And to become that person, I promise you, there's a lot of work that had to be done. If you had told me at 23 when I was having that I would become that person, I never would have believed you. And the story that Judy was listening to actually has to do with subconscious forgiveness that I had no idea. I mean, at the time that my mom died, I thought we really had a big healing. And my grief started with her death, of the relationship I had wished we had that we never could have. And in these past 5 years, that developed into really understanding the love that she did give me, that I could see how loving she really was in spite of everything. And in spite of, it's as if I actually rewrote, and I say radical forgiveness, so I'm saying that we can understand that we created everything. I was able to understand all the ways I was actually rewriting my childhood, seeing all the good pieces that she gave during all of that. And both my parents did, for that matter. But I started doing this work with Dr. Joe Dispenza, this deep dive meditation stuff. And one of the things that I've been doing in there, and this is what Judy was walked in on, was this story about how I had been working with this healing of the energy center meditation for a couple of years before I went to a retreat in Dubai with Dr. Joe. This is now almost a year and a half, over a year and a half ago. It was January of 2000, just before 2020. Where are we? Where am I? 2020, just before we shut down with the COVID. It was the next to last event he did before COVID. And I'm doing these meditations and I'm getting ready. One of the most powerful things from that retreat that I got, without telling you all of that, because in some ways that's irrelevant, except that I got this practice of sitting every day and doing meditations every day, doing meditations every day. Now, the thing about that is that these meditations bring up healing. It brings up, if we are open enough, right? If we are open enough to see what can come forth, what's calling us forth, then things will come forth. Now, I had been practicing Dr. Joe's work for about 2 years before I got to that retreat in Dubai. About 2 weeks before I left for Dubai, I signed up to go see a friend of mine's play. I met a friend of mine from Paris. We had lived in France together. We had done some theater work in France together. And she was putting on a play in Montreal for a festival called La Bête Noire, which is dark theater. And dark theater of the mind. And at that time, I had been living back in the States for quite some time, and she had moved back to Canada a few years before. I'm like, how come? And I found out she was living in Montreal. I'm like, why didn't you tell me sooner? But in any case, she was putting on this play, and it was going to be in February. I went to Dubai in January, the end of January. And as I come back from Dubai, I'm still going to go see this play, and I'm going to tell you about this play because this is a build-up, right? So I'm getting ready to go see this play in Montreal after I've come back from Dubai. There's about a month in between arriving from one and leaving for the other. And I'm starting to come up with these reasons I don't want to go. I'm like, I got some stuff I got to put on my calendar. She calls me up one day. She says, so how'd you like to bring our friend Diane from New York up to see the play too? So now I'm roped in. I've got to go see it. So the play is called How to Kill Your Baby 101. And when I say dark theater, it's dark theater. And I have to tell you, my friend Erin Farmer Perrine, you want that name if this play rings true for you in any ways, because she wrote this play for women to bring the awareness of how postpartum depression can affect women. And we had neither of us had any idea of what this was going to mean for me. So I'm roped into going see the play. It's a play that she wrote, she produced, she acted in. It's a one-woman show. And in the play, she's got 17 characters that she's written into the script. The first of which is a college professor who comes out on stage and says, so this is How to Kill Your Baby 101. And tell me, why are you here? Is there something you want to do that we should know about? And she talks about the whole thing of how postpartum depression is for women and how that can turn into suicidal thoughts, how it can turn into homicidal thoughts, et cetera, like ad infinitum. And I don't mean, it's just, I don't want to spend too long going into this, but I want to give you some highlights of the play. And well, spoiler alert, because I'm going to tell you a little bit about the end, but when you see it, you'll forget, because it'll be mind-blowing if you get the chance to see this. So one of her next characters gives birth on stage, and really vividly gives birth. It was hard to sit through. Like I was watching him, like it was hard to sit through. And then another one of her characters after that talks about the experience of feeling like she was being raped by her doctor in the birth process. And that was, again, hard to sit through. I'm like, and you see the darkness, right? And then another of her characters after that was this clown character that she brought on stage. And I'm only giving you some highlight characters, but the clown character she brought on stage was hilarious. We were in stitches, especially when the clown came on stage, and we were just laughing so hard as an audience. And the clown was on stage for about 15 minutes, I'd say. And by the time the clown left the stage, we knew that there was really something very wrong for Mama. We knew that Mama was having some issues. There was something pretty serious going on. And in a general perspective, what it looked like was that this was a mom who didn't know how to take care of her baby. And from my perspective, where I've done all the work that I've done, it looked like the mom who didn't know how to take care of her baby and take care of herself. So there's a piece of self-forgiveness in her that was missing, that she didn't even know about as she was doing this, right? And all that just to say that by the end of the play, by the time the last character left the stage, it was so brilliant. I could have sat there for another 20 minutes watching. It was enthralling. I was like, wow, this is intense and deep and dark and like, whoa, but it was intense, and she was brilliant, and she is brilliant. But I will tell you, the last character on the stage left us with the question, well, did she kill her baby or didn't she? Did she kill her baby or didn't she? And like, we as the audience left, did that happen or not? Like, what happened with this person? But the reason I'm telling you the story, and the reason the importance of that, is because about 5 minutes left in the show, I'm sitting there. Now, I told you I had a difficult relationship with my mom. And all of a sudden it dropped into me like a gestalt. It went through every bone and fiber in my body. I'm like, oh, that's why my mom and I had such a difficult relationship my entire life. She had undiagnosed, unknown about, untreated, unrecognized even postpartum depression, and nobody even talked about that kind of thing in those days. It just didn't happen. Because of the healing work I've done, my very next reaction was, oh my God, that poor woman, how difficult. Like, my heart went out to her as the mom going through like that. And I thought, well, okay, that's it. Great news, great information. And then there was another month where things were not so well for me. And I want to tell you about this because, and where you came in on the story, Judy, I think was when I was talking about um, the healing process that was going on for me with that, because I was doing these meditations every day, and there's a meditation he does, which is a healing of the energy centers. We start down at the root chakra, we go to the second chakra, we go up to the third chakra, the solar plexus, go up to the heart chakra, then to the throat, then to the pineal gland, then to the center of the head, to the top of the head. I'm going through these meditations, and I happen to be a Reiki teacher. And it was 2 weeks after this play, I got back here, and I'm working with a Reiki student whose last job is to give me Reiki treatment to get her certification. She gives me a treatment, and I don't know how many of you know about Reiki treatment, but it starts with your head all the way down to your toes. She gets to my throat and chest, and in between there I start thinking I'm going to sleep, but essentially what I was doing was having an out-of-body experience, because she told me afterwards what happened is that my mom came, and that happened from about here all the way down to my knees when I started coming back in my body. And she said my mom came to me and she was sobbing. She had her head on my shoulder and she was sobbing. I was not there for any of this, but I know it happened. That she was sobbing. She just kept saying, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." It's like, "It's okay, Mom. I forgive you." I kept saying that in return. And the reason, and I could tell the difference between somebody who's channeling and somebody who's not. I could tell that that was really going on. She got down to my feet and she had her hands on my feet for about 15 minutes. And my feet felt like they were in an oven. I'm like literally on fire in an oven, just close of like becoming scalding and getting scars. And I said to her, I said, "So tell me, what was going on with my feet?" She's like, "I was pulling you back into your body." I was like, oh, totally made sense, right? And so a week and a half later, it's a Wednesday night, I'm doing my healing of the energy centers meditation. I get up to my heart, and up till that point, through the entire previous 2 years, I'm having this pain on my chest when I get to the heart center. It's like there's an anvil on my chest. It's like just this wall that something's telling me there's something there to get through that I want to break through, and I can't do it. I just am like, there's something, I don't know what it is. So that Wednesday, a week and a half later, I get to my chest, and this is the week before, this is 3 days before we shut down for COVID. We get to the heart center, and I'm like, oh, that's what this pain has been all about. It's been about this unknown, about untreated, unrecognized postpartum depression. I had a couple of tears fall down my face, and I keep going through my meditation. And I get up to the center of my head, and I'm like, oh, and this is where I've been carrying it. And the floodgates opened up. I was just like, what is going on? The next morning, I get up, I'm doing my meditations. I have a business networking international meeting that's a half-hour drive from my house. Do my meditation, I'm getting ready for work. And throughout the meditation, the entire meditation, I can't get Erin's play out of my mind. I can't get that How to Kill Your Baby 101 out of my mind. It's there with me. And I'm in the shower, I'm getting dressed, I'm getting ready to go. And I'm like, if this is like this when I get to my meeting, I'm not going to be able to go in. Like, it's bad. But thankfully, I had the rehearsal process of knowing that I get in my car and I rehearse my little speech that I'm going to give there. So by the time I got there, I was ready for my speech. I'm like, okay, I can go about to my day. This is significant only because I go through my day, I'm doing all my stuff. I get home about 4:30ish, 5 o'clock. I'm like, I have to get to my cushion and do a meditation. And this has not happened to me before or since. And I've been meditating for 20 years, doing Dr. Joe's stuff for 3.5 now. But I have not had this like this. That particular afternoon, I was like, I kind of get to my meditation cushion like my life depends on it. So I get there. I'm doing the healing of the energies, blessing of the energy centers. We get up to my heart, and my mom comes and visits me, and I'm there for it. And she puts her head on my shoulders. I know the way she did when we were in that Reiki treatment. And she sobs. She says, "I'm so sorry." I said, "I know, Mom. I forgive you." And I felt my heart open in just such a wide way, such a powerful way. It has been life altering. It's been life altering. So forgiveness to levels that we don't even know we have to forgive sometimes. And so the power of staying in this work and staying on our green growing edge and staying in, you know what, I'm doing forgiveness. And our mentor, yours and mine, Judy, Mary Morrissey, she says to us at each training, she says, how do you know you have forgiveness to do? It's because you're breathing, right? Because you're breathing. And so there's something to that that says that we have it to do all the time. It's forever with us to do. And sometimes we don't even know why or how or what that looks like. But when the book Radical Forgiveness talks about forgiving to the point where you realize that there's nothing even to forgive, that you created this for your soul's journey, that I couldn't be this human being who is this life coach, who does these wonderful things that I do without having had that experience, that I actually created that for myself so that I could be here to do what I do. Whew, how quickly did I squeeze that in?
Wow. Oh my. This is so, yeah. Let's take a deep breath in here. How's that? Let's let's let what we just experienced sink in. Yeah. At this moment in time, at this moment of our awareness of who we are and who we're here to be. Yeah. All right. So today, Benjamin, I do know. Tell us what. Tell us like where your ahas have brought you to today, and I would love to have you mention kind of transcendence, if you don't mind.
I would love to mention transcendence. Oh my gosh, thank you for asking me about that. I was so not expecting that. What a
Oh, is that
delight.
okay? Is that okay? I
Yeah,
I just want to put it like a little pause button here, and knowing this Benjamin has done many years, many days. This is the work, and one of the beautiful things is this is what we call the work shows. And the reason, I mean, why would we even want to go through all that if we didn't have the joy that comes on the other side? You know what I mean, Benjamin? I know you know what I mean, right?
do. Absolutely.
So tell me
Absolutely.
about some of the joy that you are bringing to yourself through all this healing work, in into what joy brings you joy today, knowing that guess what? I'm looking out at the sky. We are in the middle of many thunderstorms here in Texas, and I was just thinking about there's the next door right there. It's got your name on it.
Ah!
And I'm so grateful the sky's blue right now. But I was just over talking to one of my little kid friends he must have been about 4 or 5, and he was looking at the clouds. And I'm like, yeah, look at there. And then I said, look over here, it's blue. Right here, keep watching. There's rainbows right in between. So I don't know why I brought up, but I would love to hear about your other side of the rainbow as you experience it right now.
Well, and so all of that is really interconnected. And it's so fascinating because, the fact of we do the work and we get ready for the things that are going to fall in and out of the blue. Now, like, it's important to mention, I couldn't have made that play show up when it did in my life. I couldn't have made that connection with my friend from Paris happen the way it did. Like, it fell into place. I couldn't have made her be doing that. And this was also my dad. And so I talked about my mom passing about 5.5 years ago. My dad had passed the previous July. So it was only a short time after his parting, too. And it's interesting that this came for me after his parting also, not before. So there was a thing that we could interrelate, intermingle, none of that, which is as it was supposed to be. But also it's interesting because to me as a child, my dad was my hero. And so I started realizing last year at this time, when it was coming up on the 1 year anniversary of his death, I didn't know all of this until just recently because of the work I continue to do, that I started falling away from the meditation and I started walking, I stopped meditating on a daily basis and I was having more struggle. And you know what it was? I came to find out just a few months ago when I went to another Dr. Joe retreat. I was relating this story that I told you to people there. And I said, oh, this is why he was my hero. I don't want to see what there is to discover to heal with him because he was my hero, but that doesn't mean he was a saint. Their stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to look at whatever that is. And it's coming up on the anniversary again. And you know what I've done right now? I have roped myself in with people who are meditating with me on a daily basis so that I keep my practice up, that I am accountable, which is really highly so powerful. I can't tell you the value of working with people.
I know I
It's
do every morning. I'm with a group. We meditate as a group. Have been all through COVID, and it's we always say, well, it's the only way we got through this COVID thing is we meditate in the morning as a group. So tell us about Transcendence. I'm so excited. I just know that that is a new passion of yours. And then we're going
well,
to wrap it up. I have one more question after this. So keep.
okay, so just quickly, that ties and all of that to say that that ties into the transcendence because
Oh,
through the transcendence, I started, I went to train to be a transcendence facilitator with Jennifer Jimenez. I started in September of this past year, and I started because she was at an event that a training event that was with Mary, and I was in one of her workshops and I just wanted to put energizers into my workshop. That's really all I wanted to do. I just wanted to be able to get people to move around. I'm like, Jennifer, I don't move. I don't know how to hear the music. Like, how can I put transcendent or put energizers into the workshops? And she's like, I think you should train to be a transcendence facilitator with me. And it was like one of those things, I couldn't have made this happen. I couldn't have even made it up. Like, there's nothing in me logically that would have said, become a transcendence facilitator. Nothing. And she said that. I said, okay. I didn't question it. I didn't Rubik's Cube it. I didn't logicalize it. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. Sign me up. Where do I sign? And she said, well, we sign you, see if you're qualified. And I did the conversation and I was like, I got scared of the money. And they're like, take your credit card out. It's so much less than that. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. So, and the reason I say this is because through the transcendence process, now I actually just, you don't know this yet, Judy, because just Friday night, I got a call from Jennifer saying that I have passed my dissertation, which means that's a thing that I submit to her showing myself teaching the method modality that she has created. And I am doing it acceptably enough so that I can actually ask money for it, so that I
the
can
doors
actually,
are open.
the doors are open. I am in business. And I've got free workshops coming up on July 8th and July 28th.
I'll tell you
Um,
what.
no, July
We'll
10th.
put that information in Paradigm Shifters, and I'm looking. And what I would love to ask you one more question, and then we're gonna be continued for sure. I definitely need to have you back. Uh, well, yeah, it's like a must.
Transcendence journey on its own could be a whole
A
nother.
must. It's a must. Because you know what? This whole forgiveness piece, it's like all the other transformation happens after we practice this piece, which is like, ooh. Okay, so here's the question I want to ask you. Okay, so as a community of paradigm shifters, we want to honor you for having the courage and the yeah, just to come and speak to us with your story. So what we would love to ask you, and we're going to hold, what would you love to have us as a community hold for you, Benjamin Blackett?
Wow, what would I love to have you hold for me? I would love to have you hold for me that I am giving a consistent 2 transcendence workshops a month, no matter what, online, at least one live in person a month also, and that I have a client register that includes 12 people within the next year who have been to France with me for my deep dive retreat for a week in the south of France, including some stand-up paddleboarding. So
Whoa! You got it. All right, here we go. We're going to send you some energy here. Get ready to get it. All right, everybody. Whoosh. There you go. You got it?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you
You.
so much for coming on. And we're so grateful for you and the work that you have done and continue to do to shift and uplift the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy. It's been a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege. I'm so delighted to be with you and so delighted to be with the whole community. Thank you.